All right, so in another video, we talked about the structure of persuasive speaking. And in this video, we're going to talk about the actual assignment for persuasive speaking. And so first of all, I'm going to tell you the purpose and then give you just the regular assignment, talk a little bit about the criteria sheet, and then also some tips and things that make me mad that you don't need to do. So that'll be the last thing. All right, so the first thing is that this is a speech to persuade. And the biggest mistake that people make is that they structure this speech in the informative structure and not the persuasive structure. So remember, we have a new structure for this. And I have a whole video on that showing you how to structure your speech in the persuasive Monroe's motivative sequence. So remember that, keep that in mind throughout the whole time that I'm talking about persuasive. Of course, you're going to turn in your typed outline and typed Works Cited. What I'm going to do on Canvas is I'm going to give you a module, and it's going to be all persuasive. So the first part is going to be the practice day, where I hope we'll get you into a Zoom room and we'll get you into little groups and you'll practice your speeches. You will also submit your outline in that practice day, just like we did for informative, but now we're online. So that's a new thing that I'm doing now for the persuasive. And so you will turn those in. You can turn them in early, but they need to be in by the date that you signed up for. All right, so that's with your typed outline and typed Works Cited. I hope you've been on Canvas and seen the different assignments, because now under the persuasive assignment where you put in your outline and your Works Cited, that is where your rubric is going to be. So you won't be turning these in anymore because we're not there. So you need to submit it onto Canvas where it says submit outline and Works Cited. I've tried to make them very clear so you can find them, and now I'm putting them in modules. So hopefully you can still find them. And the time frame is, again, 5 to 7 minutes. Shoot for the middle, and make sure that you time yourself in rehearsal, because if you don't, you're going to go long, just like we talked about in informative. Topic selection. Okay, so we're going to have a whole brainstorming, try to have a brainstorming without an audience, but I want you to think about, when you think about your topic, I want you to find a topic that you feel passionate about, that you really feel that you could make a difference with this speech. And so when students come to me and they say, I don't know what to do, my first question is, what makes you mad? And they usually have a big list of things that make them mad. So then we can go to that list and we can say, okay, what are some of these things we can change through a persuasive speech? And so that's what you really want to think about when you're thinking about your topics, is that what is a problem that can be solved? Because that's what we're doing in this speech. Supporting materials. You need 3 sources, of course, and it's very important to cite your sources verbally within your speech. That is probably where most of the people missed points in informative. So make sure that you put those in your notes and highlight it with yellow or whatever so that you'll remember to cite those sources. Don't leave them for the end, because what do you want to do at the end of your speech? Yep, that's right, sit down. And so if you leave all your sources for the end, you're going to be so anxious to sit down or to finish your video or whatever you're doing. What we're doing now online is that you're going to forget them. So it's best to sprinkle them through the body of your speech. And that way you make sure that you say your sources. So don't leave them at the end. Don't put them on your PowerPoint. Say them out loud in the body of your speech. All right, the next is audience analysis. It was important and informative, of course, because you want to think about who you were talking to. But in audience analysis, for persuasion, you want to make sure that your audience is going to care about the problem that you're giving us. And so you want to make sure that you think about the age of the audience or the genders of the audience, all those things. I once had a student who we used to have a classroom that was on the outside of the building, and he would leave class all the time to smoke cigarettes. So the audience didn't like this already because he was outside of the classroom smoking a cigarette, and the smell would come wafting into the classroom. And so I would ask him to go further away from the classroom, but he wouldn't do it. So then when Persuasive came up, I asked him his topic, and he said he wanted to persuade the class to smoke cigarettes. And I said, I don't think that's a good topic. Most people don't want to start smoking cigarettes. They're trying to stop smoking cigarettes. And I couldn't get him to stop. You know, he wanted to do it. He was set on doing it. And so he did. And it was horrible. The audience did not receive him very well. His reasons were, I get more breaks because I'm a smoker. So for all the non-smokers out there, you know you hate that, right? Because they are getting extra breaks just because they're a smoker. That's not fair. He also said, you're going to spend your money on something, so you might as well spend it on smoking. Wrong. He also said, hey, we're going to die anyway, so we might as well die doing something that we like. So yeah, the audience wanted to pick him up and throw him out the door after that speech. So my point here with that story is just to think about your audience. And if you are going to offend your audience, you're really not going to get them to do what you want them to do as a result of your speech. So just think about your audience and your topic and linking those together. Organization and written work. You're going to support your ideas and draft an outline using supporting material for substance. We're using Monroe's motivative sequence. I know I keep repeating that, but I've had so many students just go back to the informative structure and do it that same way, and then they lose lots of points. So I don't want you to lose points. So really remember that we're using a different structure. And this last one, number 7, is delivery. So in informative, I let you do whatever you were going to do with whatever notes you did. But in persuasion, this is your final. So I'm going to make it a little more challenging for you. So you're only going to be able to use 2 note cards for this speech. Okay, so it can be front and back. So it's like 4 if you look at it that way. And so only 2 note cards, front and back. So no sheets of paper, no multiple notes. So what I want more is a more extemporaneous type of delivery. So you're not really reading your speech, you're giving it off 2 note cards. I've still seen people write out their speech and it's like this big and they can't read it. And so that's not going to work. So if you're in that mindset that, well, I'm just going to put all that on there still, please don't. Practice. We have lots of time. We're just at home right now. So practice, practice, practice. And then whatever you need on that note card should be just maybe bullet points or just short little notes that you need for your speech. All right. So the second page is the criteria sheet. And again, I told you I would give you exactly what I'm grading you on, and you have it right there. Now it's on Canvas. So what I've done is I've digitalized it, and it is right there with your persuasive assignment. And so I'm, again, putting them in modules. So if you look at the persuasive module, it will be on there. And so you'll have this on there, what it looks like on paper. And then on the one spot where you're going to be submitting your videos, then you'll have a digitalized one on there. It's not going to look exactly like this, but the information is exactly the same. So just like we saw in informative, the first part is organization. So as long as you have your speech structured the way we talked about on the other video, and also hopefully on Zoom where you came in to visit me. And then, so that's all on there just like it was for the informative. So you want to follow that. Attention, need, satisfaction, visualization, call to action. So that's our new structure. Now, if you notice, there's no preview or summary. I didn't get to that in the other video, but Monroe doesn't call for a preview or summary, because a lot of times when someone has a preview, they give too much information. So we don't have a preview at all. So you don't want to give too much away in that first part of your speech. So there's no preview, and therefore there's no summary. So we're really just hitting the 5 points of Monroe's motivative sequence. And then of course you still need to turn in your outline and works cited, and that will be online as well. The content is the topic, and so you want to make sure you sign up your topic with me so we don't have too many speeches on why you should give blood or whatever. So, so there's that. And then sources, of course, you need to cite your sources, and then the time frame. And then on this, I had class participation because I was going to take roll in class, which we're not there anymore, to make sure that people came on days that they were not speaking just for this speech. So I'll be taking that out of this criteria and just moving the points around. So, but that will be a difference in your speech critique. All right, and then the next page I have here is a worksheet that I talked about a little bit in the other video, and it just goes through Monroe's motivative sequence. It's a great tool. Please use it, and it helps you organize your speech in this new structure. So there's no way to do it the other way, because if you follow all these questions, it just asks you questions as we go along. So it says attention, gain attention, tell a story. Relate the problem to the audience. This could happen to you or has happened to you. You know, things like that. So it's got like little prompts for you. You just need to fill them out. And then once you have that all together, you'll type your outline from this worksheet. But you will not turn in this worksheet. I've had this turned in, written out in pencil. Not what I want, okay? So, just... use this. It's a worksheet that I've given to you. Merry Christmas. All right, so I have my persuasive tip sheet here. These are things that people did that they shouldn't have done. And so I'm going to go over these. A lot of it's going to be repetitive, but I feel like I need to be repetitive because it was still happening, and that's why I have a sheet on it. So first of all, remember this is your final. I want you to prepare and deliver your speech with this in mind. I'm not giving you a test. You don't have a final test in this class or final examination. You don't have that. So this is it. So please, I'm going to treat it that way. I want you to treat it that way. So you need to prepare it as if this is your final examination, because it is, okay? Don't outline this in the informative structure. Am I turning blue yet? How many times have I said that? And people are still going to do it. So make sure it's Monroe's motivative sequence. Use the worksheet and you'll be fine. You need to turn in your outline and works cited and criteria sheet before you speak. So we're going to have a practice day where you're going to turn it in on the practice day, but I also need you to turn it in any, revisions that you've made or anything on the speech day. So those are two separate times that you're going to be submitting your outline. And then the works cited, of course, on the day that you speak. Don't put words on a PowerPoint. I would probably suggest trying to stay away from visual aids right now, because it's just crazy trying to get it. I think that's the biggest problem that my students have been having for informative, because the whole visual aid thing is just taking over, and then they're not preparing the rest of their speech. And the visual aid part is such a small part. So if you're having trouble, putting PowerPoint on Zoom or even on your video, just take it out and do something else, or use low tech or something like that. There's always another way to do it. And only 2 note cards. Even on video, I can notice if you're using 2 note cards or not. And cite your sources. Putting them on PowerPoint is not citing your sources. So that's a big mistake that people are making, is they're putting their works cited on the PowerPoint slide and they say, okay, here's my sources. Nope, that's not citing your sources. You need to give the information and then say where you got it from. Give some information, say where you got it from 3 times in your speech. And then, yeah, so so those are all the tips that I have for you. So I am gonna, this video is posted in your persuasion module. If you have any questions, I would ask that you put it in the comments so that other people, if they're having the same problems, that they can see your question and maybe get their questions answered as well. So that's what I'm trying to do now, is try, if anybody has questions, instead of sending an email to me, put it in the comments of where the assignment is so that other people can get the information as well. Does that make sense? I hope it does. If not, I will write it in my module as well. All right, take care.